Hello there. Well, if the government thought they'd cave in, they were wrong. The farmers have descended on London again and are flooding into Westminster to show the government that the game isn't over yet. All about these death taxes, the inheritance tax, and all the other taxes and all the other impositions being made on them to try and destroy agriculture in this country. The uniparty establishment push to destroy nation-state agriculture in favour of, well, I don't know, bugs maybe? Anyway, Richard, what do you think about this?
Hello there, Jeff. Yes, the farmers are not going to give up. And I think this is probably the last in what has been a series, potentially, of warning shots to the government saying, we're not going to take this lying down, okay? And I do think that the next step could be a little more naughty, possibly. Naughty is probably not the correct word. I just think that we could be looking at the blockading of ports, like we did. I don't know if you remember the blockading of ports during the fuel protests as well. Yeah, that could happen. We could see, good grief, we could see our entire infrastructure being shut down by the farmers. They're more than capable of it. I don't know who Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and the rest of them think they are, because they are actually playing with the very people, right, who provide us with food. Okay, they're not going to take it. So absolutely. I mean, Jeff, we were speaking earlier. We wish we could have, I know you wish you could have made it to London today for this farmers' protest, but there wasn't too much information on it, to be honest with you, unfortunately. And it would be nice if the farmers could give a little more information out to different people, so that they know to attend and help support these protests. Unfortunately, a protest is only as large as the amount of people who hear about it. So that's providing they're sympathetic to it, of course. But I think that the thing here is a lot of the British people are sympathetic towards the farmers and their protests. We are very much in agreement here as a nation. Yes, they get to have a little bit of leniency on their inheritance taxes. Okay, but that's part of the deal, I think, the unspoken deal between most people in this country and the farmers, because they have to work horrific hours. It's not an easy lifestyle. I've grown up in an agricultural community most of my life, and you see a lot of those farmers, and a lot of them suffer from years of back-breaking work on the land, and we need to be supporting them. We really do. So come on, farmers, let us know a little more in advance, and we'll see if we can get more support your way, because the British people are behind you. Jeff?
Yeah, and it really does annoy me that Labour is completely ignoring it. In fact, there's been quite a few people from the Labour side who are very dismissive of the farmers' case. Just totally doesn't matter. We don't care about them. They just have to pay their taxes. It's nothing to do with us, and all this sort of thing. And how about food security? It doesn't matter to them for some reason. It's all part of their destruction of the UK nation state. You know where they want to go. They want to go to the WEF-driven, man-made food factories that, where you get a load of gunk and you colour it and turn it into something that might look like a steak if it was midnight, and you had no lights. It's absolutely ridiculous. And And part of the reason I wasn't or couldn't or wouldn't have gone anyway probably today was I wasn't sure that I'd be over this horrific case of man flu that I've had. So I have been a little bit under the weather, and I didn't want to travel to London again. But as I say, I did look for some more information, but it wasn't readily available. It should have been plastered, starting point here, like we do with the Tommy type protests, start point, this is where we'll be going, this is what you'll see. But we didn't seem to, I must have missed it somewhere, must have missed the briefing somehow, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, at the end of the day, all I see is the Labour Party. And there was one on GB News today. There was someone on GB News at midday. I wish I'd taken a note of his name. One of a previous advisor, very dismissive. Oh, they just have to pay up. You know, they're very well heeled, blah, 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 blah. It's all the same message over and over again. My message to those type of people is, if you want these farmers to start paying inheritance tax on their farms, they're going to have to save for it over many, many years. Great. How do they save for it? I'll tell you how: by charging more for the food. Charging more for food. Now that would then put food on a proper commercial paying basis. Food prices will go up, inflation would go up. The government would be there trying to, and I know what a Labour government would do. They'd try to cap the price of potatoes and peas and stuff like that. That's what their response would be an overbearing Marxist communist approach, trying to stop all their profiteering and all that. No, they need to pay more tax. If they need to pay more tax, like any other business, they have to charge more money. And then the government will be saying, well, we'll import it all from abroad. And then they'll be importing all that food from maybe countries which aren't quite as good with their animal welfare as we are. But people suddenly wouldn't be worried about that, would they? Because the prices would go up. If you want this really good animal welfare, you want cheap food, then the farmers must be given the land on which to produce the food without having massive taxes being imposed on them. That used to be the contract between the people, government, and the farmers. That has now that's gone. As far as I'm concerned, there should be no more importing of food, and we should rely on the farmers to produce it at whatever price it needs to be to cover their costs and keep them solvent and keep them going, and so they can pay this it's going to be ever increasing amounts of tax. That's my view. Do it. Do that. Charge more money, and then watch people start moaning. And then you point out, we have to pay the taxes. You have told us we have to pay the taxes. That's part and parcel of paying more tax, is charging more for the goods. It's a tax on the people. It's not a tax on the farmer. Won't be a tax on the farmer. It's a tax on the people, because they have to pay it so that the farmer can pay more tax. It's the same as motor cars, the same as houses, the same as building bricks. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have to pay more tax for it, that has to be passed on to the consumer. And if you don't want that to happen, then you won't have any farmers. And that, I think, is the ultimate aim. Destroy traditional agriculture. Everything's green, and we'll all eat gunk out of a factory and be healthy forevermore. But no one will ever convince me that eating anything other than meat is healthy.
Oh, absolutely. I can second that for my recent rather worrying health scare, when I stopped eating so much meat and I went on to what you would call a balanced diet. Yes. Nearly killed me, but there we go. I'm back to carnivore now, and I feel much better. Yes, blood pressure's gone down from 186 over, 106, down to 126 over 75. That happened within 4 days of going from a standard diet to a carnivore natural diet. There we go. That's the truth. Anyway, so interesting points you raised there, Jeff, as well, about importing food. Of course, don't forget, Ukraine is being carved up at the moment by BlackRock, from what I can gather. I think it was BlackRock. I might be mistaken. I believe it was. And funny enough, Keir Starmer was saying not so long ago how wonderful it was to have that Labour was now cozying up to organisations and multinational corporations and large bodies and entities like BlackRock. He named BlackRock. And then he had a meeting with, I can't remember his name now, I think it's the CEO of BlackRock in Downing Street. Oh, okay. So effectively what he wants, I believe, is for the small farmers to disappear. All right. Traditional farming methods to go. This is all about industrial farming now. And it's very strange. I think it's very strange how those on the left who pretend, and I will say pretend, to be against globalism and capitalism, right? How they pretend these things, and yet they are more than happy to support Keir Starmer and his government when they are cozying up to those very same people. I mean, who brought out, was it a local business that came out with the jibby jabber in the pandemic? Was it? No. Was it a state-funded or a state? Not a state-sponsored. What's the word I'm looking for? Was it a part of the medical establishment of the United Kingdom that came out with the AstraZeneca, for instance? Jibby jabber jabber jabber. No, it wasn't. It was a private company, a large private company as well. And that's the way it works. And yet all the people on the far left were running towards having these. And Keir Starmer was very enthusiastic about pushing forward the mandate. And yes, anyway, sorry, going off track here slightly. But one of the things I have noticed as well from the farmers, well, a lot of the noises I'm hearing from the farmers is that they're not happy with this artificial feed being given to their animals. To them, it's a little bit of an alien thing as well. Now, you have a lot of these companies now who are putting in this stuff into their feed, but it's done by large supermarket-owned farmland and farmers.
You're talking about Bovaer, yeah.
Yes. Amongst others.
Stuff. Yeah.
Bovaer amongst others. There are other feeds out there. I think Bill Gates has been pushing one as well. One of his own.
Has, yes. And he's met the Prime Minister recently.
Funny that. Yeah. So I think what we've got the farmers who are basically the traditional farming methods and traditional healthy foods are being stamped upon. But thank goodness our farmers are standing up, and credit where credit's due. Who was there today to support the farmers? Nigel Farage. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well done, Nigel. I don't know if Nick Tenconi's down there. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Who knows? But I just find it. Oh, again, Rupert Lowe though is a farmer himself, I believe. So, there's going to be a lot of support from within Reform on that matter. I think it's a very strange situation we have here, Jeff, where the two main leading political parties, who are the Uniparty, let's face it, we all know that, are absolutely against farmers, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if Kemi Badenoch turns up and said, "Oh, you need to halt a little bit of this, halt a bit in terms of inheritance tax." I wonder if the Tories would have done this themselves. I really do. At this point. I don't trust the Tories at all. At all. I don't trust them. I have a little bit of an issue with trusting Reform right now. But as far as I'm concerned, they're the best game in town. I keep saying it, for deposing the Uniparty. Yeah. But at the same time, look at Nick Tenconi. He's doing some remarkable things with UKIP. Remarkable. Yeah. So, interesting times.
Yeah, I always look back and think that what maybe Rishi Sunak called an early general election because of the list of things he would be required to be imposing on us over the next few months in the lead up to failing at the next general election. So maybe he decided to jump ship early. That's the only conclusion I can come up with, that he went early because he knew that these things were coming down the pipeline and he had no control over them at all. None at all. Yeah. I don't think Labour has got control over half of this because half of it wasn't in their manifesto.
No.
Now, you could say they were lying. Yeah, they may have been lying about it. But the other side of it is they probably got into power and someone sat down and said, right, throw your manifesto in the bin. Here is your new one. You get the idea. And we are, whichever way is happening, we're either being led by idiots, liars, or the controlled. Doesn't matter. We need to get rid of them all. That's the bottom line. We need to ditch the lot of them and all their advisors, because that's probably where half of this is coming from, and the civil serpents and all. Need to get rid of a lot of them. Still, there you go. Yeah. But good luck to the farmers. Bring it on. Make sure that you send the message home hard and do what it takes to do that within the law, of course.
Yes. Wasn't it though Dominic Cummings though who was also saying the other day that it was the civil servants who who have basically taken over,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know, all control
Yes.
of Westminster in terms of policy making, and that the only thing that happens is that Starmer is there to rubber stamp, just as Sunak was, just as Johnson was. They're all the same party.
Yes.
It does make me wonder, if Reform does get in, will they face the same prospects? Will they
Yes.
literally have to clear out the entire civil service? Will they have to even break some laws? Would they have to do
No,
this?
what they actually need to do is have no private meetings with any civil servant ever.
Yes.
So they can never, ever be charged with bullying or worse.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they've got to do. Everything's got to be wide open in public, basically. Cameras, I don't care what it takes. So they can never, ever be held over. Because I remember at the end of the last Tory party, there was lots of bullying sort of being hinted over there and sexual impropriety over there. And that's the sort of thing that I worry about. That's the sort of control you can exert over people. And I don't trust those people in Whitehall. I just do not. They've shown us exactly what they are. UK destroying lovers. That's all they want to do. Nothing they ever do is good for this country. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's good for everyone else, but not for us. They need to go.
Yes, I think we the entire establishment, the swamp really does need draining in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it with America, and thank goodness Trump is actually draining the swamp out there. But here in the United Kingdom, we so desperately need it from the top of the establishment, as far as I'm concerned, from His Majesty himself, all the way down to the civil servants and all the little mini Hitlers that are in local government even. You need to get rid of the lot of them. They need to be made what they are, which is really in our lives an irrelevance that has been imposed upon us. They are an irrelevance. They're not needed. It's almost like saying, oh no, humans can't come together and collectively work out systems unless we have these massive control mechanisms in place. I disagree there. I even think you could have state infrastructure without having so much bureaucracy. I think it's more than probable and likely that it would succeed rather than fail if there was less pressure from the bureaucrats.
The trouble is when you do politics, there's always winners and losers, and everybody wants everybody to be winners. And that's half the problem with politicians these days. They haven't quite grasped the fact that when they make decisions, there will always be losers. Yes. And they're never open about it. At the end of the day, we want to make the chancers and the scroungers and people like that the losers. But everybody thinks, we've got to give them a way out. No, I don't want to give them a way out. I want them to lose. I want the hard-working majority to win. That's what a democracy is about.
Absolutely, Jeff.
Anyway,
I think we've covered that one. But yes, as you said earlier, to the farmers, our best wishes to you and good luck. And, we do support you. You'd be surprised how much support you do have amongst the people of this country. At the end of the day, without you, we don't eat.
Correct.
There we go.
So, or we don't eat proper food.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, I'll say it's good afternoon for now from me.
And it's good afternoon from him. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.